If it's possible, can we start with the session?
Yes, we can start. Yeah, I'll start. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I hope you all are doing great. Welcome to today's Masterclass event on 10 strategies for success as an software development engineer. For today's Masterclass event, we have Gaurav with us. Gaurav has around 5 years of working experience in software development. Gaurav is currently working in Sony India Software Centre, leading front-end development team of one of prestigious Sony products. He is an active contributor to this learning and open source society. So, if you have any doubts regarding the software development, web development, front-end development, you can ask Gaurav. You can ask all your questions in Q&A section, and you can communicate with Gaurav on chat box. Over to you, Gaurav.
Sure. Thank you, Naren, from the team Melba Better, for giving me this wonderful opportunity for taking this wonderful webinar and interactive session for the 10 strategies for success as an SD. So first of all, everyone, let me know like I'm audible, right? My voice is not lagging. Narendra, am I audible, properly audible, right? Okay, fine.
Yes.
Fine, sure. Thank you for the confirmation. So, let me shortly and briefly introduce myself. Hi, Gaurav, as you know my name. I would be your instructor, or you can say the master class leader for today's session. That is 10 strategies for success as an SD. Okay, I'm working currently in Sony for the past 1 years and 9 months. I have total 5 years experience working as an full stack developer, and I hail from Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, and I'm currently residing to my official location, Bangalore. So that is my very brief introduction. I currently working in few of the part time as a mentor. Okay, so I would be taking your master class for today. Okay, so let me quickly share my screen meanwhile, and we'll start with the just a second. Sure. So I'm sharing my screen. Hmm. So let me know my screen is visible. Sure. So today's agenda would be basically few of the key points that I know many of them might be aware of the software development, and if not, then we'll briefly understand what is software development, okay, and what is basically the SDE. So we might have heard about like the company is hiring for the SDE role, or the company is hiring for SDE2 role or SDE3 roles. So we would be learning and understanding what are the uh, requirements and what the employees are looking for in the second of the agenda. Okay, then we would be learning and we would be understanding what is should be the career goal for the software engineer in 2024. Suppose if you are planning for becoming a software developer, a software engineer, basically, so what should be the career goal? Okay, so we would be understanding all those things. Then our top agenda for today, we would be discussing that the 10 strategies of a success as an SD. Okay, so we would be understanding the strategies of success as an SD. Okay, then we would be understanding and knowing about the progression of a software development engineer, like what progression we should follow for having the success as an SDE or the software development engineer. Okay, so SDE, I wanted to tell you, it's nothing but a software development engineer. Okay, and we would be understanding about like interview formats, at the top product companies. Like suppose what sort of questions you can expect from the big MNCs like Amazon or Walmart and all those companies who are hiring the SDE role profiles. Okay, so we would be understanding the interview format. Okay, then we would be understanding the SD interview questions and the few coding questions. Okay, then the Alma Better team would be taking to the walkthrough. Okay, so this will be the agenda. Okay, so we would be starting with the very first key point or the agenda for today is this: what is software development? Okay, so it is very simple, and we are little bit of familiar with what is basically the software development. Okay, so software development refers to a set of computer science activities, means it is nothing but you have to write a code, you have to use your logical mind, you have to use your computational thinking and create a set of programming so that you can create a very simple software for the client perspective or for your perspective. Okay, so software development, it is nothing but is for the professional who have the creative and the technical skills. Definitely, if I want to become a software developer, I should be good at the logical reasoning. Okay, it is the same thing which we expect from an IS officer before going into the civil service examinations, right? They have to go through the aptitude questioning, they have to go through the logical mindset, they have to go through the quantitative reasoning before entering into the IS exams or the civil service exams, right? Okay, so if we wanted to become a software developer, we should be having a good creative and technical skills so that we can create our own logics. Okay, we have to anyhow create our own logics. Okay, so for creating our own logics, we should be familiar with all those things. Okay, the coding techniques can be anything. Like we can follow the recursions, we can follow we can create a code in Java, we can create the code in Python. You guys might be familiar with few of these of like familiar means you might be knowing about few of the sort of programming languages, like which one of them is Java and C and C++. You can code anything, but you can create your own software with the help of these programming languages. Okay, so most of the days, the software developers spend their time in developing and testing softwares, right? Obviously, if you have seen in the reels, you must have seen in the YouTube videos or in the shorts or anywhere, you might have seen the software developers creating and developing the softwares and testing the softwares until it meets the client needs. Okay, so anyhow, our ultimate goal is to meet a client needs. Okay, so the role of a software developer or the role of a software developer engineer is to develop and test the softwares until it meets the client needs. Okay, so SDE. So when we say the SDE, software development engineer, so it means like we are at the initial level. Okay, initial level means we SDE1. Like suppose if we have given the role as an SDE1, means you would be creating the logics for the initial levels. Okay, you would be given the features to implement, or you would have given some of the basic features to implement as an fresher. Okay, like suppose you are from one of the you have the basic knowledge of software development and you have cracked the interview of the Amazon as an SD1. Okay, SD1. And what you would be given the part is to create the feature of one of the headers or create the feature of one of the e-commerce applications. So that will be a role of an SD as an SD basically in one of the MNCs. Okay, so you have to spend 8, 9 hours, 10 hours, or more than that, or also that, based depending upon the workload of your company. You have to spend 8 9 hours, 10 hours, or more than that. Hello. Hello, is my screen visible? Yeah. Sorry, I guess there was some network issue. So, I have given you the understanding of the software development better. Okay. So, that is how the software development works. Okay. You can write a code in Java. You can write the code in JavaScript. Either you write the code in any of the languages, you can become a software developer. Okay. The software developer doesn't mean you are creating only the mobile applications or you are only creating the web apps. No, software developer has multiple domains to work in. Okay,
Gaurav,
so you have your own choice. Yeah,
oh,
sure.
sorry for interrupting, but your screen is not visible. And don't worry, guys. Sir will be back. There is some glitch, I think.
I'm really sorry, guys. There was some network issues. So I'm resharing my. Is my screen visible now? Is my
Uh,
screen visible? Like,
Gaurav, but your camera is not turned on.
yeah, yeah. I'm turning it on. I rejoined it again. Uh, am I visible also?
Yes.
Sorry for the inconvenience. So now we would be moving on to what are the market opportunities of SD in India. Okay, so a skilled software developer in India is never going to face any problems regarding the employment, definitely, right? So we are aware about, see, the recessions and the layoffs basically happens in every 4 to 5 years, as we know, right? The market from the US, which we basically have the clients from the US, right? So they have sort of a filtrations after every 4 to 5 years. So we don't have to stop our vision, or we don't have to stop our goals for becoming as a software developer, right? So suppose currently I'm working in one of the companies, that is Sony, and the client is basically from the Japan, right? So it doesn't means like we have a foreign clients, or we have a clients from Tokyo, we have the clients from US. So people are not hiring. So people are hiring, but we have to be very conscious and we have to be very wise while choosing the company we are going into, right? So definitely we don't have to stop our vision for not choosing the opportunity or the goal of as an SD, right? So we have to become a first of all the skilled SD, that is the software development engineer. And since we are the freshers, we would be joining the like the company as a very first initial level. So we would be, as we have discussed, we would be given the initial basic features for the implementation, and we have the hierarchy as the initially, like suppose you join as Amazon, or you have been joining as a Flipkart employee working, or you join the Udan, you join an Akko. The companies like this hire the SDs, right? The SD1. Okay, after that what happens? The SD1, after one, it comes SD2, and similarly 3, then the program manager, or we can say the team lead. So it follows the hierarchy like this. Okay, so if you join a company now or in 2024 as an SD in one of the companies or the tech giants like Amazon, PayPal, or Google, you would be joining an SD. After working for 1 or 2 years, you would be having the more opportunities working either in the same company as an SDE2, or you can join or switch a different company as an SDE2, right? So definitely your progression or the career path of SD is very clear, right? You have to be very good at the logical, as I told you, very good at the logical. I know many a people of mine who only knew about the DSA, right? Who only knew about the DSA, they joined very good sort of skills. They gained a lot of skills as a DSA perspective, and now they are working in one of the tech giants in Microsoft, as in Microsoft as an SD1. Okay, so it doesn't matters from which field we are, right? I'm currently mentoring many people who are from the finance background, right? From the BA background, right? From the BSc background. Say they don't have the BTech sort of a thing, but they have a vision for becoming as an SD, as a software development engineer. And the market also have a lot of opportunities for those people who are eager to learn. Okay, if suppose I'm not interested in the SD role, so I'm not interested in the software development, I'm not interested in the computer science, right? And like I unknowingly and inadvertently want joins a company as a software developer, I won't last for years and all, right? So definitely I should have the eager, I should have the sort of a thirst to learn something out of the sort of the course or what I've been doing it, right? So we have to do all those things. You should have the market research done before joining a company, and you should have the good updated knowledge of what technologies we are diving into, right? Like suppose in past 5 to 6 years, we didn't knew about the React, like what is React, right? So you might be familiar with the React or the JavaScript or the Node or the Mun in the coming 1 or 2 years, but we have seen the growth of the technology within this 5 years, right? So this is how the technology learners should learn the new things out of the market. Okay, and the second point is the SDs help the complex programs while fixing the errors, right? So what I believe is, like, we are the developers, right? So initial goal is always the development, right? Suppose I give you the very simple feature, I'm not treating you guys as a more of the technical now, because many of the people are like are here to learn what is first of all the software development, right? We are like we are basically treating them as a very much at the like fresh level, right? So we have to tell them like what are the algorithms, what is computational thinking, how to solve a very basic program, how to solve a complex program. So we have to learn from the very much of the basics, right? So the very much like basic mantra, or very much sort of a thing we have to like we have to think as an SD is how to solve the basic programs and the complex program while fixing the errors. We have to fix the errors also, right? We are the developers, we have to develop, plus we have to debug, right? So debugging is always 50% and development is always 100%, right? So we have to give 150% of ours while we are working in any of the companies, right? I have mentioned few of the companies who hire the SDs one profile in a lot of high strength, right? So that is why I have given you the idea which companies hire the SD1 roles, right? So one of my friends working in Udan as an SD, right? So he joined the Udan like in 2015, right? So Udan is nothing but a company, it's actually a B2B company, right? So it hires the SD1 with a very good package. So at that time, he got around 17 to 17.5 when he was a very much basic or a fresher, right? But he has a very good DSA perspective skills. He didn't knew about the MERN, he didn't knew about any of the JavaScript, but he was good at the logical mindset. So companies, the market only want the people who are good at the logical skills and who can solve the basic and the complex programs in a very good sort of the thing. Okay, so we have to work in that space. Okay, so moving on, like why become a software developer, right? Now the next question is, like suppose you are non-technical, right? Many of the people might be from the technical also. Like suppose I get the point, like the 50% people are from the technical and the 50 are from the non-technical, right? So we treat this webinar as the non-technical perspective, and we give the sort of a gist, like why become a software developer, right? So very there are few reasons why we consider like this profile, this career path as the most demanding, right? So the very first point is the high demand. Definitely we know that if we go to the Silicon Valley or in the US, or we go to the Silicon Valley of India, that is Bangalore, we have all the high demand, right? We go to the Pune, we go to the Bangalore, we go to the Gurgaon, we go to the Noida, we have a huge demand, we have a high demand of the software developers, right? I can understand like the freshers nowadays like have to be very much in the creamy layers for getting a job, but it doesn't mean that we don't aspire, right? We have to aspire for becoming a software developers. I too aspire to become a software developer. Luckily I got the placement from the company, from the college, and it was not a sort of a very good sort of placement. Why? Because I joined as a basic system engineer in Infosys, right? As you know, like the companies and the mass companies, they come and they hire the people and all, right? But now you can see me, I'm taking the webinar of a software development, right? So it doesn't means like we can't go into product based companies after the service based companies and all, but we have to aspire for something big, right? So for that perspective we have a huge demand, right? If you want, you can have any sort of your things that can be taken in. Okay, the next is the career options. Okay, so now there is a sort of the mentality in the people, and they only take the same path. Like suppose I know 10 people who are taking the course of month stack or the full stack development, but there might be the career options within that also. Though you can become a software development engineer in test, that is known as an SDET. Now you are taking the course, or like suppose you are taking the webinar of SDE as an SD. So SDE means a software development engineer, but you can aspire as a software development engineer in test, that is known as SDET. You can aspire as a data scientist, you can aspire as a data analyst. So it depends that the software developer can aspire for other domains also. Okay, so we have a huge career options within the same domain. Okay, now we have been always learning, right? I suppose today I have the project of React. It can be after 1 or 2 years I might be learning the Angular, I might be learning the Node, I might be learning the React. So we have the huge learning curve, right? We do have the lot of people working collaboratively and individually, right? So we have the option to work in a team, or we can have the option to work individually, right? We have to work individually for our own sort of the task, and that task collaboratively makes a team, right? So we have a team of suppose 6 or 5 people. So you might work individually for your own task, but that might sum total to a project, right? That might sum to a project. Okay, so you have to work collaboratively and individually. Definitely this sort of the option that is a high salary will basically make you this more interestable thing, that we have a high salary, but it is not always the case, right? It is the case like if you are always learning, if you have the great creative outlet, if you have everything, then only you will aspire for the high salary, right? So high salary is directly proportional, dependable on many other features and the qualities, right? And the last and not the least is the remote work options. Like I can understand after the COVID, like out of 5 days we have to minimum go 2 or 3 days, but the other 2 or 3 days we can work from home, right? Or where we want to hybridly work, right? So that is the option we have been given. as an engineer. If you see a doctor, if you see many other hardware engineers also, but a software developer, right? The hardware engineers have to go to the office because without touching or without the physical touch, they can't feel or create the project or something. But yeah, with the software developer, you can do many things working in a hybrid or a remote work options. Okay. So that is why the people choose as an SD, or we can say as a software developer. Okay. So now moving on to the next slide, that is what the employees are looking for. So before moving on to the 10 strategies, or we can say the success paths, we have to learn and we have to know like what employees are looking for. Definitely, I work in a company that is Sony. So my clients that are from the Tokyo would be looking for some people, definitely, which has few qualities, right? So what sort of qualities with the people are looking in 2023 or in 2024, we are listed as before. Like, so the very first quality, what the people are, what basically the employees are looking for is a collaboration and communications, right? So we as a software engineers have need to collaborate and communicate with the team to complete projects. Definitely, we have to open up. Okay, we have to open up with the team, within the team, outside the team also, to get our projects completed and have a good understanding of the project. Okay, we have to work in that sense. Next, that is a multitasking. So as a software engineer, you need to manage multiple projects, right, before with the competing deadlines. So we have to be in the multitasking way. We don't have to forget about the work life balance, and we are just working 18 hours, 19 hours. It's not like that, right? We have to work consistently and in a progressive way, so that we have a sort of a better work done before the deadline. So we have to multitask in that sense. Okay, the next is continuous learning, as we have already understood and discussed prior, that we should always learn and we should have the always continuous learning uh, while the progression of our software developer. Okay, the fourth is attention to details, right? We have to see in very much precision way. Like suppose I have given you a project for creating the Amazon, suppose. Okay, and you're not thinking in that way, like how the front-end developer should see the things. So we are not able to, we will not be able to create the project with more of the precisions, right? So while creating the sort of the logics, we have to think how we can do that, right? So all those sort of a things and precisions we have to take in care while creating the projects, right? The last is the problem solving. So there will be the problems, the bugs, the deadlines, the miscommunications, the broken code. So being able to approach the problems, and we have to basically take care of the problem solving, right? We have to take care of the bugs, we have to take care of the problems, we have to take care of the deadlines. So everything we have to take care as a software developer. Okay, so what are the career goals for a software developer or a software engineer, right? So I want to tell you my story as a goal, what I had a goal initially 5 years back. So it is very simple. I started, as I told, I started as a system engineer as an Infosys, and now I've been giving the webinars to you guys as a software development engineer, how to aspire as a software development engineers, what is the success stories and all. So I would tell my story that might be inspirational for you. I joined Infosys, and after 1.5 years, I joined a very small company that is Hash Studios, and over there I learned a lot. Initially, I didn't get any development tasks because I was a fresher and my role was not a development role. My role was system engineering role. So what happens in the system engineering role is you get the tickets to resolve for a client, right? Like suppose you get a technical support project and you have to work accordingly depending upon the requirement, right? But you don't have to develop, because I was not a developer. I was just given the training as a .NET developer, right? A .NET is actually the backend technology where we code in C Sharp. Okay, so in Infosys Mysore, I was given the training for the 6 months, And after 1.5 years, I wanted and I aspired to become a software developer. So I joined a very small company with the backbone of the .NET, and I just keep on learning in that company the React, the JavaScript, the HTML, the CSS, and many of the dockerization things, Jenkins things. You guys will learn many things after like a few years, 1 or 2 years, but there are lot many things to learn and aspire as a software engineer. So my journey then started basically of the development in the second company, that was Hash Studios, and currently that journey is in progress, touchwood. So that is how we should have the career goals. We should build our networks. Definitely you can use the LinkedIn, or you can use many other platforms to build your networks. Okay, my you can have a career goal for work as at a prestigious company. That might be a primary goal, right? That is why you guys are here, right? So you guys are here, that's why means you aspire to become a software developer, right? So we have to work at a prestigious company. So it doesn't means like the company should be known or a famous, that is only the prestigious company. No, it's not like that. Many companies work in the back end. Like suppose I told you about the B2B company, the Udan, right? There are many companies that work in the venture side, that many companies work in the back end side, which we as a customer or a user are not aware of, right? So it doesn't means that it's not a prestigious company. So you can take the help of your mentor. You can contact me anytime. You can contact any one of them who is guiding you, or you have a big elder brother or you have an elder sister. You can take care of them and you can ask them, like, I have been placed at this company. So which company should I join? What are the like goals for it? What are the things to taken care of it? So they will guide you. Okay. Then the third sort of the way or the career goal is to become a mentor, right? Suppose you are working in that society from which you are taking in, right? And now it's your point to give back to the society. So you can contribute as a open source writer, or you can contribute to the society as a mentor, right? You can sell your softwares you wrote, right? You can work as a freelancing developers and you can sell your softwares, right? You can start your own business. You can be an entrepreneur. So career goals for a software engineer is a huge, right? It's nothing like you have only one or two things to do. You have a lot of listed things to do. These are just 4 to 5 or 6, you can say, right? Or either you can take a webinars like what I'm currently taking as present as a uh, at a conference, right? You can take a conferences. So that can be the career goals of a software engineer. So I will just take a break, or I will just uh, allow you guys for like 4 or 5 or 3 2 minutes of break, so that we can start with the 10 strategies in depth. Okay. So, Naren, I would just be taking a 1 or 2 minutes of break so that the people themselves can recognize and they can think of any of the questions, right? So, participants just wanted to understand. So, I will address few of the questions first. Okay. So, any one of them have a question? Like, anyone wants to have a question? Definitely, definitely. So, Vishnukant, so what we can do is like we can divide the session. Like suppose I will speak few points in English and I will try to repeat all those points in Hindi also. So that will be more easy for everyone also, if I am not wrong, because mostly of the people understand English, and the second language of the people might be Hindi also. So that is not the scenario. So I will take care that I speak in Hindi, English also, और मैं कोशिश करूंगा कि मैं हिंदी में भी उस चीज को रिपीट कर रहा हूँ. ठीक है? सो यू डोंट हैव टू वरी. I will take care of both the things. Okay. So what I wanted to tell is that these software development doctors, we don't have a specified language. Okay. We can have the things in Telugu. We can have the things entirely in Hindi. We can have the things in English. Just the English is the common medium to communicate. That's why we take care of English, nothing else, right? It doesn't means like we have to be very much good at the Shakespeare's level and we have to speak English like that. But yeah, we have to interact with the US clients, we have to interact with the UK clients. So we have to take care of that communication skills also. Okay, so Vishnukant, don't worry, मैं हिंदी में भी थोड़ा कोशिश करके repeat करूंगा. So any questions to ask? Okay. See, so the correct path is uh, you have to, like, suppose your work. So the path is same like as an UPSC aspirant. Okay, you might have been seen the people of the UPSC aspirant working 6 7 months or more than that, also years and years for preparation, right? So what they are preparing for? They are preparing for the aptitude, they're preparing for the logical reasoning, they're preparing for the polity, they're preparing for the geography, they're preparing for the history. So all these topics, all these subjects are their own subjects, but what is common between the software developer and all other aspirants are the aptitude and the logical reasoning, right? For us, what is the logical reasoning is the DSA part, the data structure part, right? So we have to give at least like 3 hours initially for 3 to 4 months, so that we are understanding the DSA, that is data structure, right? So if you join any of the programs or you start by yourself, anything that is fine, you have to initially start with the data structures. Okay, so guys, data structure is nothing but the logical part or the aptitude part or of every aspirant, right? So you have to give 3 hours. So 3 hours means daily you would be doing like 4 questions, right? Initially you have to give lot of time to data structures. Why? Because that will make the base, right? That will make the foundation of you guys for becoming a software engineer, right? And if you guys are anyhow finding the exit or the like short route for skipping all those things, that it is not fine for you guys, right? What I will suggest and what I also used to do and what I've been seeing the people doing is giving at least 3 to 4 hours in a daily perspective for the data structures, right? If you do the same for like suppose 3 to 4 months with a lot of consistency means like you have to give at least 2 hours in the morning and 1.5 or either 2 hours also in the evening for the data structure. Meanwhile, you can learn any other things if you want, but yeah, data structure consistency have to be divided depending upon your learnability, right? But that should be consistent, right? The right way is that 3 to 4 hours daily, and then we would be we have to think in other ways like HTML, doing CSS. So is that fine? Is that fine, Ashish? So DSA data structure part is the initial step we have to think of, right? Consistency depends upon you, yaar, है ना? So it depends. Like you are sitting in a stretch for 3 to 4 hours and completing it in a daily basis, but you can join the Lead Code daily challenges. You can join Geek for Geeks challenges. You can join any of the challenges or HackerRank challenges daily basis. What they do, they give daily one questions that will basically give you a sort of a progression, right? So if you're getting that sort of a progression daily, so you will think like I have to do at least one question. So suppose you're doing one question also daily. Suppose in the very worst scenario, you would be doing 30 questions or 31 questions in a month, right? And if you are doing for continuously for 6 to 7 months, that means at least 200 to 210 questions you might have done. So you have enough plenty of knowledge about the data structures, राइट? सो इन हिंदी वी यूज टू से यार कि बूंद बूंद से सागर बढ़ता है, राइट? तो वो बूंद बूंद से सागर बढ़ता है इज ट्रू फॉर इन दिस केस ऑल्सो, राइट? सो वी हैव टू फॉलो इन दिस सिनारियो. Okay, as a ASP.NET developer, can I practice a DSA and CSS? Definitely, Rohit. I also, what used to do is initially, as I told you, I got an opportunity and trained in .NET. So I used to do the DSA part in the C Sharp. So you can also do the same. It's not an issue. The choice of coding language is yours, but suppose you have been applying the job as a .NET developer. Okay, they will expect you to write a code in C Sharp or Java. Okay, but you are applying a job as a MERN stack developer or a mean stack developer or a JavaScript developer. So many of the employees nowadays, employers are looking for the people who write their given code only in the JavaScript. Okay, so that is the main point. And how can I use the DSA to implement that in a project? So see, implementing that in a project is not directly, right? So suppose you have been doing that in a DSA in a scenario basis. Like suppose Alice and Bob is doing like this, they pick a ball like this and all blah 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 things. So they give you the scenario so that in your mind you have a brainstorming, right? The more you run your brain, that will help you to brainstorm and use the same thing in your projects. I suppose in a project you have to create your APIs, you have to create a microservices, you have to create a middleware. So DSA is nothing but it's actually the collection of arrays. You can have the strings, you can all, so you can utilize the data structures directly in the projects, but you have to create your own logics after brainstorming your DSA sessions, right? Suppose you have been like doing the DSA in C sharp for 5 to 6 months, you have now more better mind created after 5 or 6 months. Now you have to use that logical mindset in your project, right? So that is how the DSA will help you to get through with your project, right? And definitely with the DSA, you would be knowing about the arrays, you knowing about the strings, you'll be knowing about the stacks. So data structures you can choose, right? So practicing more and more of the DSA either in the C sharp or in the C or the C++ JavaScript will help you to understand the data structures, right? And you can implement those in your projects. Okay, that is how the DSA works in a project. So next question and the last question in between is this: which programming language is the best for DSA, right? So it's not the best one, right? It depends upon the requirement. So suppose you want to become a web developer, right? Or you want to become a MERN stack developer, right? Very particularly. So you have to be very good at the JavaScript. But what we suggest is to first of all go with the Java. Why? Because the initially you would be understanding about many of the concepts. Like Java teaches you the foundations, the steps, like what is polymorphism, what is encapsulation, what is abstraction and all. After learning all those basics in Java, you can choose either of the domains. Like you, if you want to become a MERN stack or a mean stack or a JavaScript developer, you can choose JavaScript. So now you have both of the knowledge, the basics of the or the core Java knowledge plus the JavaScript. So you can utilize the languages and create your own projects and understanding. If you want to go for the embedded systems or the IoT projects, you can go after Java, you can go to C++. Or if you want to become a data scientist or a Python developer, after core Java knowledge, basics of the core Java knowledge, you can switch to the Python. So you will have the object-oriented programming language experience also, plus the scripting language experience also, right? So according to the IT market, the basics of the core Java is expected, right? If you are not aware of the encapsulation, if you are not aware of the polymorphism, if you're not aware of the few of the things, the employers might be like thinking like, don't know about the what is object oriented programming, right? So Java teaches you about the object oriented programming skills, and after that you can choose your own way of learning or your own choice of learning. But what I will suggest, as a software developer, you can start with the progression of JavaScript, right? HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then React or Angular. So that should be the progression of a software development with the web application as in domain engineering. Okay, so is that fine? ठीक है यार, है ना? तो मैं यही बताना चाह रहा हूँ कि oops की नॉलेज होना इनिशियली बहुत कंपलसरी है, राइट? सो अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ oops एट इनिशियल लेवल इज वेरी कंपलसरी, ठीक है? तो oops की नॉलेज लेके वी कैन इम्प्लीमेंट मेनी थिंग्स in other programming languages, right? So learning core Java will take some time initially, while because if you are not aware of the development, if not aware of the DSA, not about the data structure, so initially thoda sa time lagega. It will take some little time in the initial level, but yeah, after that, learning JavaScript or any of the other languages will be easy for you. Why? Because array ka same concept hai, right? String is the same concept, right? Data structures, data types are almost the same, right? We just have to think accordingly. Is that fine, Akshay? Akshay, sorry, and Rohit, is that fine? Can we start and move forward? Okay, we'll start with the things. Okay, so what are the 10 strategies of success in SD and navigating your career path? Okay, so as I have told and we have discussed, to become a better programmer, you need to be good at the data structures, right? Definitely, we have to be good at the data structure, the algorithm, the designing, using OOPs, multi-threadings and all, right? So initially, as I told, for becoming and for getting the success more as an SD, we have to understand the concepts of object-oriented programming, data structures, algorithms, and designs, right? And the very first point for the discussion here is adapt an agile and iterative approach. Okay, so what is agile and iterative approach? So agile means you are giving a sort of sustainability in between your learning. So what is sustainability in learning? Right? Suppose you are just learning in one stretch, okay, without having the analysis what you are doing correct is you are doing is correct or what you are doing is wrong is something we have to think of, right? So we have to adapt an agile and iterative approach. Okay, like suppose you have divided, you have given a roadmap for suppose 7 or 8 months. You divide your roadmap into few of the like learnabilities, right? So you give like suppose 3 months for your DSA means a three months for your OOPS concepts, and after that see what's your success is, what's your weakness is, do the SWOT analysis, right? And after that move on with your HTML learning, move on with the CSS learning if you are learning about the web applications, or move with the JavaScript, right? So that is how we have to adapt an agile and iterative approach. Okay, so a key strategy for the successful software development is to adapt an agile and the iterative approach, which allows for the faster delivery, higher quality, and more customer satisfaction. So, like suppose you are working in a project or working as for a client, right? So what the people do, like suppose in a previous days, the client used to give the requirements directly, like in a one stretch. And after 3 to 4 or 5 months, they just used to have one meeting. And after that meeting, the client and the developer used to discuss what is currently done. So definitely, if I say you one thing in a one stretch, and I will ask you to meet after 3 to 4 months, will that be fine? Will that be fine? No, right? It won't be fine. Why? Because nowadays the communication is a very much key factor where we have to communicate daily or not daily, at least twice or thrice in a week, so that we are discussing what is correct or what is going wrong, what are the blockers, is it going everything fine or not, right? So there should be agility in the learning, and there should be agility in the software development also, right? So we should have a sustainable and the agile approach in everywhere, right? Not only in the software developer, as uh, in a personal life also, right? We should be agile and have an iterative approach. Okay, so that is the first point. The second point is identify your programming strength and the weaknesses. Okay, so we have to identify what our strengths is. Okay, what are the weaknesses? So suppose you start with the OOPS concepts, right? And after 3 to 4 months or 5 months, you identify your strength is now the DSA also, right? And now you lack in few of the concepts in the DSA. So you have to fill the voids in the coming months or in the coming days, right? So that is how you will success, right? If we are not aware about the success factors or the strength factors or the weaknesses factors, everyone has the weaknesses. I too have or had the weaknesses of speaking in front of many other people, right? Now what I feel, because I used to get conscious of my English, I nowadays what I feel is it doesn't matters. Okay, it doesn't matters a lot. Why? Because my strength is the technical perspective, right? So I have basically gained those technical strengths so that my weaknesses are uh, looking less, right? So that is how we have to think as an SD for getting much of the success, right? We have to basically think as a programmer and not that much of a speaker, right? Because the speaker only thinks like whether he's speaking as an active voice or a passive voice or something like that, right? But for a programming perspective, we just have to focus onto a technical perspective, right? And we have to keep on taking the feedbacks in between, right? Like suppose you're working in a team, right? And we have to seek the feedbacks with the program manager. We have to seek the feedbacks with many of the elder people, all the people working in a big sort of a level, so that we improve on a daily basis, right? Like suppose 3 years back, one of my team leads, so like suppose says like you have to work in these blah blah things, and you're doing good in this, but yeah, you lack few of the things in this. So it doesn't means like it was a negative sort of an approach, but yeah, you can take it in a positive way and you can identify your programming strengths and the weaknesses, right? And you can be a good programmer as a JavaScript, you can be a good programmer as a C sharp thing, you can be a good programmer in C sharp or a C plus plus thing. Anything is fine, right? But you have to identify your strengths and the weaknesses. Okay. Then the third and the major point is joining a programming group. Okay, like suppose like programming groups are the teams of other programmers who work together to develop the projects. Nowadays, you might have seen the GitHub projects, right? So GitHub projects in an open source way, right? Like suppose many a people, 200 people or 300 people create one project. That is an open source project, right? So you can work and you can grow more if you join those sort of programming groups. In a Telegram, there are many channels where you can develop in an open source way, right? Like they give you the sort of a statement and you work with 20-25 people and you have to solve in that way. Or you join WhatsApp groups, you join Discord groups. There are many groups in all sort of platforms where you can basically take part in coding and development, right? So suppose now you have the knowledge of core Java, you have the knowledge of JavaScript. Now you can work as a freelancing or you can work in an open source society apart from the full-time job also. Okay, so it doesn't means like a full-time job is discarding your way for becoming a successful engineer, but it's not like that. You can become a successful engineer, you can become a open source like contributor anywhere apart from your full-time job also, right? So you can join a programming group, and you should join a programming group at least once in a lifetime so that you can contribute also, and so that you learn a lot from the society also, right? So that is the third and the most important point. Fourth is basically develop your projects. Okay, so it, like suppose you have the knowledge of core Java and you gain the knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So what I suggest and what I feel and what I've been seeing the people also growing in from the zero to the hero level. How? Like they've been creating a very good projects. Like suppose they have the knowledge of HTML and CSS and JavaScript, they create the outline or the outlet of the Amazon.com, or they create the outlet of the cleartrip.com, something like that, right? So they are working continuously in creating their own projects, they develop their own projects, they don't worry about what is the business idea or what, but they start with the things, right? So it is always good to start with the things instead of waiting for a good opportunity, right? So you can create your own projects, develop your own projects, publish your own projects, Okay, there are many sites over there in the nowadays in the website like Netlify or Vercel, where you can deploy your own projects, right? So you can create your own projects, take the help from the YouTube, take the help from your mentor, take the help from the elder projects, elder brothers. You can take the help from any of the companies which you have been looking forward, so that you can create your own projects for your own learning, and secondly for your good resume, right? So this should be a good habit for at least creating a 3 to 4 projects, so that you have the understanding also in the trending way. And the second is you have a good resume, so that you get yourself at least shortlisted for the SD1 role, and further for SD2, 3, 4, and some, and moving on. Okay, so that is the fourth and the important points, one of the important points. The fifth is a create a practical schedule. Okay, a practice schedule, right? A practice is a good way to improve your programming skills, right? Using your list of skills and techniques you want to develop, creating practice schedule, right? What I told Akshay guys the before also, like he had a question, like I just wanted to repeat the question, like which programming language is the best for DSA, right? And I gave him the answer like it can be anything, like you have to start with the core Java and moving on to either of the C sharp or C++ or the Python, right? But you should have the good practice for creating a schedule, right? Like suppose you have initially working with the DSA, you have then gaining the knowledge of DSA. So basically 3 to 4 hours minimum, we have to create a schedule for learning the data structures. Why? Because if we are learning consistently, if we are learning in a prominent way, we there are no points we are stopping anywhere. Right. So we have to create a good practice schedule, determine when and for how long you have been work on your programming skills to help your structure your practice sessions. Right. When practicing your programming skills, consider working on different skills each week, right? We have to basically see in a 3 or 4 months and divide that months into weeks, so that we are learning progressively, right? Like suppose you divide your arrays into 2 or 3 months and learning and seeing and coding the questions in arrays. Once you are done with the array, move on to the next data structure, that is strings. Then the same 3 or 4 weeks you will take for the strings, move on to the stacks. So that is how you have to divide your practice sessions, right? And consider working on different skills each week to help you develop several areas of expertise, right? So you might practice things like design patterns, learning different coding languages, and coding for different industries. So you can code for the different industries, means you can have your freelancing clients, you can have your own clients, and you can create your own learning with their project development. Okay, you can take a very simple projects like creating a simple static HTML, CSS, JavaScript website, and you can create their own project. So that is how you will learn. Like suppose what I used to do is I used to approach to my school and ask them that I can create the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript sort of a sample portfolio for their school, like for my school, right? So that is how we would be reaching to the people, developing the things and learning without having that I would be getting the money out of it, right? We always don't want to think the money out of it, right? If we want to showcase our work, means we have to basically do in a different way, right? We don't have to always like run behind the money and the salaries, right? So we are at the initial level, we have to think in the future also, right? So for thinking in the future, we have to see, we have to practice, and for practicing we have to get the work, right? So that is how we have to think in a perspective way, right? So moving for the next strategy is develop the computational thinking mindset. What I think computational thinking, what is computational thinking? Okay, so computational thinking divides your problem into multiple parts. Okay, so what are the 4 parts of computational thinking? The first of all, it is document decomposition. Decomposition means you have a problem, you divide a problem into many parts. Like suppose you have a big problem, you divide it into how you will do it, what are the parts of it, what makes it to do it. So all these things you divide. So the very first part of computational thinking is decomposition. Then the second part is pattern recognition. The pattern recognition means, like suppose you are playing a Lego game, like block game, right? You divide it and you see what patterns it is matching, right? So the problem solving is always the same way of gaming, right? Like you decompose it, you solve the things in a pattern recognition, right? You find the pattern, like how you can do it. Was it the same previously also or not, and not, and not, right? So that is the second part of computational thinking, right? The third is the abstraction, right? And the fourth is algorithmic thinking. So the algorithmic thinking this means, like, you have to create the logic then. Like suppose you have given the program to write a uh, write a program for adding two numbers, right? So depending upon it, you will divide this question into many parts. Like how many things you have to do, what you have to do. Then you have to think what you have to do is the sum, right? Adding two numbers. That the pattern recognition is sum, right? Then the algorithm, right? So we have to think like how we can do it for solving the problem, right? So computational thinking is the way that can help us to solve a problem, right? However, before a program can be tackled, the program itself and the ways in which it is could be solved needs to be understood. Definitely, right? Because before solving a problem, we have to think how the problem itself and the ways in which it could be solved can be understood, right? So the computational thinking always allows us to do this, definitely, right? So we should have the computational thinking as a mindset, right? It is not a skill, but yeah, we have to inculcate it while we are growing as a software developer, right? So computational thinking is always a way to solve a problem by specifying the detailed step-by-step solution to those problems, right? Collecting, representing, analyzing the data to support the drawing, the conclusions, or making the decision, right? So this is how the computational thinking works, right? And the next step is the contribute to the open source society that we have already understood and talked about, right? We have to give and contribute to the open source society which we are working into, right? Like suppose you get a problem from the Stack Overflow, right? And now you're not contributing your own ways how you resolve the problem. That is a solve of that is sort of a problem, right? Why? Because that society won't grow, right? You're only getting the answers, but you're not giving back to the society. That is very much sort of a red flag for you guys, right? So we have to contribute to the open source community and the society. Okay, the next step can be keep a never give up attitude, right? Like suppose you are a software developer of 4 or 5 years experience, right? And you are stuck with one of the points or a problem that is taking more than 20 days, 25 days, but now you give up, right? Means you write a mail or you write a message to your manager that I'm not able to solve this problem, right? This is not the way to deal in the companies or multinational companies, right? We have to always have and keep a never give up attitude. Why? Because it is always the path to success, right? And and it is only the main factor in becoming a good coder is having a never give up attitude. Why? Because suppose one problem might take only 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes to understand it, but another way the same or a different problem might take around 1 hour or 1.5 hours also to understand the problem. But one of the people who is always having a never give up attitude is taking it in a positive way that he will only do it or she will only do it. But the one that is not keeping this as an attitude for never give up attitude, so they will say like I can't do it. So if you have those sort of negative mindset or a never give up like always giving up the thing, that is not the correct way, right? And that is not giving you the success in a long run, right? So if you want to get a success in a long run way, you should have this sort of attitude, right? And we do keep this sort of attitudes, right? So ninth one is a consistency is better than intensity, definitely. So if that is what I said कि बूंद बूंद से सागर भरता है. If you are very much consistent, if you're giving one questions daily also, in a span of 3 to 4 months you would have done more than 200 plus questions, right? So related to your learning mentality, reading about your craft at least 40 minutes per day is more useful than spending the whole day in front of the mentor to set excessive studying workloads, right? It means like it if you are working with the quality, means you are working only for the 40 minutes, okay, but you are very consistent, means you are working Saturday Sundays also, but only for 40 to 45 minutes, that is more than enough. You don't have to sit for the long run for 8 to 9 hours, and you are just taking break in between 3 to 4 days in a week. That is will not make a sense, right? Be very consistent, and it is more than the intensity also, right? And the 10th one we have already like prior this sort of thing I have discussed, that we have to build the small projects with the basic knowledge, right? If you have a basic knowledge of core Java, you can create a basic core Java application, or like a simple console application. If you have a basic knowledge of Spring Boot, if you have a basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, you can create a small projects. Okay, creating a very small projects will basically sum up to a very big of the foundations, right? So if you have to make a very good of the foundations, you have to create a small minute creatures. So that is how it works. Okay, so what is a progression of a software engineer? So we would be discussing it after the break of 1 or 2 minutes. So Narendra, is that fine? Narendra, is that fine? So guys, we are taking a break for 5 minutes. Okay. So meanwhile, you can have the questions ready, and we would be discussing it once we complete the session. Is that fine? You guys also can take a very short break. Okay. Okay, so we are continuing with the session. So, so what is the progression of a software engineer? Okay, so we would be basically getting initially as the role of, suppose you're getting the role of a software development engineer. So that is the initial point of uh, designation, right? That is initial point of designation, right? So just a second. Let me check the Q&A. Okay, fine. Hmm, hmm, fine. So for the progression of a software developer is like you would be getting a job as a SD one, then you would be getting the job and the switch after 2 or 3 years, depending upon your learnability as an SD two, right? So you as a developer would be having the progression of the SD, SD1, SD2, SD3, then the program manager or the product manager, and then moving on with the director level and all, right? So progression of a software engineer is very much clear, right? We don't have to thinking think in that like a different way that how the software developer like job designation works, but the job or the progression or the designation of a software engineer is very much clear, right? We don't have to like just have to skill up every day. We have to raise our grades, we have to skills our the learnabilities, so that we are progressing in a good way. Okay, so job role is the area of responsibility of an employee which reflects which what kind of work they perform in the company. So SD1, as I told, you would be getting the very initial level of the development phase. Okay, so any of the features you can get or any of the testing perspective you can get, and you can start with the coding and start with the work. Okay, if you are progress as a program or a product engineer, so you would be having the responsibility of the job role for many of people that is beneath you, right? That is, you will be taking the responsibilities of many of people, 5 or 10 people, 15 people, 20 people, depending upon the requirement, and you would be mentoring them, you would be guiding them for progressing in the project. Okay, that job role will be of the product manager or the program manager. Okay, then what is a job title? Is the name of a position that a person occupies in a company, right? The job title, suppose you are a QA manager or you are a Python developer, Golang developer, it can be anything, right? That is how the job title defines, right? But for you, the job title will be SD1. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it. So the next point हमारा ये है कि what are the SD interview questions. Okay, so like suppose the very basic interview questions might be asked for you guys would be explain the principles of the object-oriented programming and provide an example of how you are applied those principles in your previous work. Okay, like suppose you have a knowledge of a core Java, है ना, और आपसे वो पूछे कि भाई पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म क्या होता है, आपने कहाँ पे इम्प्लाई किया हुआ है, या आपने डेटा इंकैप्सुलेशन कहाँ लगाया हुआ है, और ब्ला ब्ला चीजें कहाँ लगाई हुई है, राइट? सो यू कैन टेल देम एंड आफ्टर हैविंग द गुड नॉलेज ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग. Okay, then they might give you a very simple problem like given a list of integers, write a function to find the two numbers that add up to the specific target sum. ठीक है, तो ऐसे type of questions you would be practicing once you get into the sort of the roles or you have been learning by yourself, right? So you would be understanding these type of questions, right? Then the third question might be describe the differences between the array and the linked list, right? So array and linked list both are the data structures, right? So once you study about the data structures, you would be understanding about these two terminologies. But these are sort of the questions that you might like expect in an interview of an SD, right? If you're giving an interview of Amazon or you're giving an interview of Sony, in as an SD. So you can expect these type of questions, right? Design a URL shortening service like Bitly, right? So all these type of questions you might expect as an SD interview, right? So how do you approach testing and maintain the code quality, right? So all these type of questions you can expect. Basic HTTP differences, HTTP is different, right? SQL based questions. So all these type of questions you can expect in an interview of a software development engineer. So let me tell you what should and what basics are expected from an SD. So data structures are expected and most prominently are. Second is the SQL. SQL is a sequential query language, right? It is actually related to database management, right? So these SQL things and queries will be also asked in a second priority. Third priority, they can ask you about the object-oriented programming questions, or they can ask you about the computer networks or operating system knowledges, right? So these basic sort of computer science knowledge will be helpful and is expected from a software development engineer, and they might ask you in an interview questions. Okay, so these are the few coding questions which are listed over here. Like write a function to reverse a given string without using any built-in reverse functions, or given an array containing an n distinct numbers taken from 0, 1, 2 till n, and find the one that is missing from the array. Okay, so these sort of interview coding questions also you can go through, and while giving and learning about the software development interviews, right? And learning also, right? So I will take up the few Q&A sessions, questions. So how to prepare the GATE exam after place in company for MTech, right? So see, any of the exams you're giving, right? The GATE exam, the CAT exam, right? Any of the like post graduation based exams you are giving it. So you have to, right? So you have to basically take out and balance out your time, right? So like suppose you're working in a company for 8 or 9 hours, right? And after that, you have your own time, right? After your own time means after 9 or 10, you have to give at least one day consistently, 1 hour continuously or consistently for at least 3 to 4 months. So because the GATE examination requires the consistency, right? They require the knowledge of data structures, they require the knowledge of basic computers, they require the knowledge of computer networks, the object-oriented programming languages. So definitely, if you are learning these sort of things, and you divide your work into different sort of work work panels, right? That is how you can prepare your GATE exams in a while working in a company, right? So definitely, Neha, you can work in a company also and you can prepare your GATE exams, but you have to follow consistently, right? Because that means you have to divide your curriculum into different parts, right? You have a big curriculum, right? Computer networks, operating systems, and you have SQL based, you have a basic OOPS oriented and OOPS programming languages, right? Understand and have a deep knowledge of it, right? You do a PhD onto it, right? If you are learning and doing the PhD by yourself, you would be better prepared for your GATE exams, right? That is how we can suggest you, right? I have a problem with English conversation, then how to improve it? And because of for interviews must, right? Definitely, we have to improve our English and communications, but what I told you previously also, that there should be a strength, right? The strength should be technical, right? And I too have currently some issues with the communications, right? Because we are not prominent with the English community, right? We are with the community where we frequently speak our mother tongue language and Hindi also, right? So but we are not familiar that much as we are comfortable with the English, right? But we have to speak it anyhow, speak it out with your bank manager, speak it out with your like anywhere you're getting an opportunity in a hotel, you're going in a restaurant, you're going anywhere, you just speak it out in English so that you are working with their communication skills also, right? Anyhow, we don't speak English with our friends, right? Because it is very much awkward with them, right? But anyhow, we are getting opportunity from the customer care perspective, from the banks, from the restaurants and the hotels. Just talk it out and speak it out. Okay, thank you, Vinay. That's a good question. So yes, sir, I have no knowledge of coding. What problems can I face if I start coding directly? ठीक है. तो मैं बहुत simply, like I'm telling Farhan, I have seen the people. I am currently mentoring the people. I that they don't know what is coding, what is software development, and what is data structures, right? So definitely, initially we have to put a lot of efforts. Anyhow, if we don't have the technical knowledge, we just know how to open the computer, how to just run the Google Chrome and all. That is a basic computer knowledge. We have to go into the depth and do the engineering onto it, right? If we're doing and the engineering onto the computer science, we have to basically put a lot of efforts, right? So initially you will get a lot of face difficulties in coding directly and all, but yeah, you have to start with their you have to basically cope up with it, right? So definitely you will face difficulties in understanding tech terminologies like what is data structure, right? Why do we use them? What is arrays? What is strings? Where to use arrays? Where to use strings? Where to use linked lists? Where to use any other data structure? But yeah, you will face it and you will cope up with it. I can totally understand, right? But if you have any doubts, you can just speak to out your mentors, you can speak to out your instructors, you can reach to out me anytime on LinkedIn if you have and facing any issue, right? So Ashish, could you please elaborate on the impact of AI on the job market for entry level full stack developers today and in the future? So who are searching in the AI, right? If we have asked the AI have given the UPSC exam last year, right? And you have seen the score of the UPSC, the AI in that UPSC thing, right? It was around 76 to 75%, right? So AI will never take a job of ours, right? As a software developer, right? What we feel is thinking in a more brighter way. We are putting the sort of questions in front of AI, then only he or she is telling it, right? But AI is not listening to all those things. We are telling them like this is the sort of a problem and what should be the thing. It is not always the right the AI is giving it. Right. AI is useful when it is for the content writing. For the content writing, it's having a good control, right? But for the React, suppose you want to create your own make my trip application, right? It's not always the correct way that AI will take over for it, right? Initially, AI will help you for few of the logics, right? And suppose this is what you can do it, right? But anyhow, you have to implement the logics in your own code, in your own project, right? So that is how the AI will never replace entirely as a sort of the jobs, right? We won't be losing any jobs. Anyhow, the AI is on the top, but we won't be losing our jobs. Okay, because like we are the only ones who are controlling the AI, right? If we want like to hold on these things, we can hold it on. Okay. So how to increase the logical thinking skill? Sorry, I'm having some cold, so there's some issue. So, how to increase the logical thinking skills? First of all, for us, the logical thinking skills will be improved once we have the knowledge of data structures. Right? Suppose you join any of the programs, they would be teaching you about the basics of programming, like the basics of maths questions, and then they would be moving on with the array-based questions. Right? So you have to solve the problems from the lead code, that is the online platform. You can take help of it. You can take the help of the interview bit, you can take the help from HackerRank. So these are the platforms where you can code, right? You have the basic knowledge of any of the programming languages, either code, Java, or you have the C sharp, C, anything is fine. You can start with the code, right? Just write a code and see how many test cases you are running, right? How if it runs all the expected test case, then it is accepted. Else you have to debug the code. So is that fine, Devansh? Devanish. So you have to, as I told already, we have to code for at least like 3 hours initially, and you can take the help from lead code. You can code and you can find the questions. Many are questions over there. If you join any of the programs, anyway, you will find many a platforms over there also. If you take the help from, you can create your own problems also. Like suppose you can create your own problem, like write a program for finding the sum of two numbers, or finding the maximum of two numbers or three numbers, right? If you have the basic knowledge of core Java, you can directly open the compiler and write the code. That is also you can improve and increase your logical thinking skills. ठीक है? तो basically what you have to do, write a problem, okay, divide the problem, as I told, decomposition is the very first thing, right? Then create a logic. Okay, initially you can take the help from the online notepads, or you can write your logics somewhere in your notepad, right? And after that you can write the code for that created algorithm or the logic, right? And you can see how you can, are you getting the expected output or not, right? So that is how we can do it. So is that fine? So that is known as a dry running the code. That is known as doing the dry running the code. So we have to create the logic and do the dry run, and then we have to see that how does the code executes. So I'm done, Narendra. Any other questions? Vidhul and Team Alma Better. Actually, I'm done with this session.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys, regarding the how we can do this, the things or something like that? Any other question, guys? You are all free to ask the questions. Any of the questions regarding the career path or the SDE things, or what programs to choose from where from the YouTube to learn, or any other things, right? Any other questions are fine. Or else the team Alma Better will take it over here.
Right. Thank you so much, Gaurav, uh, for briefing us on the lovely presentation. I will take it ahead from here. Okay.
Yes,
So
sure.
yeah, I'll just quickly share my screen and we can get started. Just give me a second, guys, please. Right. Okay. About Alma Better. Okay. Correct. So we are basically a community first learning platform where students can study in groups to learn and get motivated from each other, do projects in teams, thus learning to adapt in a cross-functional environment, get ready for jobs by networking with industry professionals, mentors, and alumni. Right. To summarize what exactly this means is that we are basically a community where learning comes first, okay, for our students. That is our top one priority, where we help our students to learn in group. Because if you look at traditional learning on e-learning platforms, students usually get the content of the lectures and pre-record lectures, and they watch that at their own pace, and slowly and gradually they lose their motivation, right? So that is where you study in groups, you will be able to understand a lot of things, right, from your own batch and your own cohort, right? You'll be interacting with other students who are sharing the same background as you. Correct. So you'll be able to get much more involved there, and thus it will keep you motivated to complete the entire program and start your career or switch your career in the respective domain of data science or web development. Right. Now to provide the projects in team. Okay. This is where we come in and we provide our students capstone projects, which are basically industry relevant projects, right? So students are able to actually work on real time data. That means actual companies' data, right? So that will be giving them more of a hands on experience and altogether a better industry exposure. Okay. So students have the option as well to do in projects in as a team, so they will be able to understand and adapt how cross-functional environment work, right? Because sooner or later, once you shift your career or you start your career in the data science or web development domain, right, you'll be working with certain team. Okay, so that is where, rather than getting started and then you are adapting there, we prepare you beforehand how to work in a group, right? How co-officially you can cooperate and work together as a team, right? And ultimately, post completion of the program, we also offer our students 100% guarantee job. That is where the get ready for job comes into the picture by networking with our hiring partners, industry professional, mentors, and alumni. Okay, right. Why Alma better? Let me just do this. Yeah. So basically, we are an industry relevant curriculum covering topics from basic to advanced. This means that we will be teaching all of our students coming from any background, be that commerce, science, arts, engineering, dental, law, pharmacy, any background. We teach all of our students right from the scratch itself, from ground level, right? From the very basics to the advanced part. Okay. And just to let you know, our students who come and join the program, okay, majority of our students in a batch are coming from a diversified background. That means they belong to different background. Like more than 60% of the background of students are coming from a non-technical field. That is commerce, science, arts, and different field, right? Not engineering. So for them also, we teach right from the scratch. And if you have this doubt in your mind, okay, I'm coming from an arts background, I'm coming from commerce, I don't know anything about coding or data science, anything, we got that covered. We will be teaching you from zero, okay, to the advanced part. And of course, this will be done through more than 100 plus live classes with a lifetime access to recorded lectures. So this will be a live interactive sessions that we have thrice a week, okay, for both of our programs, data science and web development. And ultimately, during the session also, if you want to ask any questions, doubt, you can always feel free to do that. And our instructors and moderators will be providing you a real-time resolution, right? With also, in additional to that, more than 20 plus caption projects, which we have discussed in the last slide. Like you'll be working on actual companies data like Amazon, uh, Zomato, Swiggy, how they predict your time of delivery, how much time it will take, how Book My Show works with the dashboard, how the IPL dashboard works. So actual companies data will be providing to you to get more of a hands-on experience and industry exposure. And that is the definition of capstone projects, okay, with more than 1,000 plus coding problems and assessments to ensure that you are practicing enough and your skill set is enhanced day by day. Okay. We do have daily doubt resolution sessions along with one-on-one mentorship sessions. Okay. So guys, just to throw some spotlight here, our daily doubt resolution session offers a live support. Okay. Where our support team, our subject matter experts are available, okay, 6 days a week from 11:30 to 8:30 p.m. And you can directly come to that platform, join, ask your doubts on a real-time basis. You can speak, you can share your screen, you can turn on your video and elaborate your concern, doubt, and you'll be getting a real-time resolution on the spot. Okay. With, of course, one-on-one mentorship sessions that we offer. So our mentors are coming from the respective field of data science and web development, having more than 7 to 10 years of experience. Okay. So they will be actually an industry expert to help you with your career path, right? More than 50 plus mock interviews with dedicated career coach. This will come later in the picture once you have completed the program with the prerequisite and you go for Almax, which is basically the placement drive, right? So there you'll be going with more than 50 plus mock interviews, resume building session, how to talk to an interviewer, salary negotiation, plenty of things that will help you to cover how to crack an interview, basically, with, of course, a dedicated career coach who will help you understand your strengths, weaknesses, which job offer you should accept, reject, hope, keep it on hold, so on and so forth, right? And last but not least, we do offer 100% guaranteed job since we have more than 700 plus hiring partners. Okay. Once the student has completed the program and goes for Alma X, that is the placement drive, that is where we give them 100% guaranteed job. And this is done through a written commitment on a legal document. Okay, so even students have that assurity, okay, I'm going to get a job and this is promised to me on a legal document, and of course after getting a job I have to pay the career services, which is basically the pay after placement, right? So yeah, right. Learning activities for technical skills. Okay, we have live lectures, lab experiments, projects and assignments, group discussions. So you can brainstorm and discuss it with your team as well. You can form a team of 5 students and work on certain projects, assignments, group discussions, right? For motivation and industry exposure, we have mentorship sessions where our mentors are coming from 7 to 10 years of experience in the respective domain. So they are actually an industry expert, right, to help you with your career path. Okay, of course we have guest lecturers, okay, people who are experienced and are coming from different companies to give certain guest lectures from Google, Amazon, different companies, okay, MNCs. And of course community participation. Okay, that is where you work and you are involved in the entire community of data science and Alma Better. Okay, of course some of you guys might be having this question in your mind: in order to go for the placement program, what all things are required to go, right? So the placement program is basically the Alma X. Okay, and in order to go for the placement program, you just need to complete the prerequisites, that is the capstone project, competency challenge, and AB cat test. Okay, right. We have more than 700 plus hiring partners, okay, with us. Companies like Amazon, Uber, Vedantu, Accenture, Capgemini, KPMG, JP Morgan Chase and Co, Polygon, Target, right? Mintra, of course, and United Lex, Tech Mahindra. So I'm sure majority of you guys might be aware of already these companies, correct? And yes, these are few of our hiring partners who offer job and placement in data science and web development domain, both. Okay. And another set of companies are like DCX, Tiger Analytics, EXL, Cognizant, HDFC Bank, Paisa Bazaar, IIT Madras, Citibank, Kmart, HSBC Bank, right? And of course, Bridge I-22I. Okay. This is something that is a real eye catcher for all of us. The salary distribution of Alma Beta graduates. Okay, so for any student, you can consider this is the average package that we get most of our students placed at. That is anywhere between 8 to 9 LPA. Okay, and you can see the percentage based on, of course, the skill set. Okay, this is of course subjective to your skill set and your dedication towards the program. The more dedicated you are, the better the skill set you have. The better the skill set you have, the higher the package you can expect the company to offer you. Okay, so it ultimately boils down in your own hand how much you're willing to dedicate yourself to have a better uh, future and for a better tomorrow. Okay, meet your instructors and mentors. Okay, so your instructors are the people who will be teaching you, and the mentors who will be there to help you with your career guidance. Okay, and of course, all of these folks who will be teaching you and helping you with your learning journey are coming from the respective domain of data science and web development, having ample of experience more than 5 years. Okay, so they will be an actual industry expert to teach you what is currently going on in the market case scenarios, industry standards, right? They will currently teach you everything that is up to date, not obsolete, right? Things which are outdated, we do not cover that. Okay, so you can note down a couple of names and from which company do they belong, what is their current role, right? Like Ekta Maheshwar is coming from Accenture, who works as a lead data scientist, right? And Sankalp Jain, who's a senior data scientist. Okay. Similarly, a few more names of our instructors and moderators who are working with Apple, SAP, Microsoft, University of New Haven, and Harman. Okay. Success stories, these are the stories that you will find on our website as well. For the students who have joined the program prior and have completed the course and we have got them a job. Okay, so their LinkedIn profile is also mentioned there in case if you want to connect with them to understand how was their learning journey, how was their placement journey, and so on and so forth. So we have mentioned everything who comes from a technical, non-technical background, and you can feel free to connect with them, see their success stories, how they uh, overcame all the challenges and hurdles and secured a job in the IT sector. And you can find this in videos as well on our YouTube channel. Okay. student dashboard walkthrough. Okay, so in coming to the students dashboard, once you have enrolled, the dashboard will look like this. Okay, so once you have enrolled in the program, you can see this is the dashboard, how it look like. You can see your name here, and of course, everything will be provided on the dashboard itself. All the classes will be conducted on this dashboard. You don't have to download Google Meet or Zoom to attend the lectures. All the recordings of the lectures will be provided here. Okay, your learning tab, your classroom, your practice, projects, career, okay, mentorship session. This is something which we have recently launched, that is the job dashboard. Okay, so while studying as well, simultaneously, if you want, you can apply for jobs, because we do offer the job openings that are available with us. Okay, so you can choose the location that you wish to and desire, the domain in data science or web development, and the employment type as well. Okay, so this is something which is really an excellent part. And of course, to show you guys what we were discussing earlier about the live support platform. So this is where once you come on the live support platform, it will be redirecting you to our support team, who will be active 6 days a week from 11:30 to 8:30 with our subject matter experts as well. And that is where you can ask your doubt, get your concerns, questions, okay, everything resolved on a real-time basis, because it will be an interactive session. You can speak, you can turn on your video, you can share your screen, everything. Okay, refer on definitely if you have any friend, colleague, family member who is interested in data science or web development, and or a friend who wants to join with you. You can always share your referral link. At the same time, you will be able to earn as you learn, and your friend will get an additional discount on the program. Okay, coming back to uh, slide. Okay, so for all those enthusiastic learners out there who are very much keen and interested to have a better and a bright future tomorrow, you can use the coupon code LEARN15 for an early bird discount, and you'll be getting a 15% discount on any of the courses and any of the plans, data science, web development, IIT program, or whichever you wish to choose and enroll in. Okay, now we'll come back to the Q&A.
Any questions for the technical perspective?
I think, Gaurav, we don't have any questions. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys, for this technical perspective.
Vidur, we don't have any questions as of now. You can share your details on chat so that they can connect with you if they have any doubts.
Sure. So, guys, in case if you are planning to know more about the programs that we offer in data science and web development, you can feel free to reach out to me. I'll just quickly share my details on the chat. Okay. My phone number, and of course, my email ID as well. Okay, if you want to discuss anything about the program, doubt, questions, anything that you have the slightest doubt in your mind, feel free to let me know, and I'll be more than happy to connect with you all. Okay, I've dropped my contact on the chat. You can save it, and feel free to connect with me at any given point.
Yeah. Guys, you can join our WhatsApp group, and you can also give us feedback in the Google form which I shared. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for attending today's masterclass event. Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
Gaurav.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you. Have a
Good
nice day
night.
all.
Bye
Yeah,
Sure. Thank
have a
you.
great
Thank
evening.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.
bye.